Whether you're brand new to programming or just getting into JavaScript, welcome to my course called Getting into JavaScript. I'm Kyle Simpson, but you probably know me online as Getify. In this course, we're going to take a look at a brief primer on general programming concepts, things like variables and for loops, decisions, even functions, and then we'll launch into an exploration of the three main pillars of JavaScript: the type and coercion system, the scope and closure system, and finally the this, object prototypes, and the class system. They say every long journey begins with a first step, so let's get into it. So that's the first thing that we want to do. We want to make a decision, and we remember we talked about decisions. We can use the if statement. So we're going to say if, and the thing that we're looking for is to see if book name includes, and then the thing we want to check for is whether or not it includes the word great, and that's when we're going to do something. But actually this is backwards because the instructions say only if it doesn't include. So we want to basically end up filtering out the ones that have great. We only want to do it if it doesn't include. And you might remember from our discussion of operations that the exclamation mark is how we negate or we complement a Boolean value. So if this one would have returned true, we want it to be false. And if it would have returned false, we want it to return true. So we're going to flip it by putting the exclamation mark there. So now I'm just going to do that console log statement again. We'll just make sure this time that we're only printing out the three book names that don't have the word great in it. So we'll switch back over to our run environment. We'll run this, and we should see only the three book names. And then we've filtered out. We have not printed out Great Gatsby or Great Expectations. Okay? So that allows us to see we validated that our if statement decision logic is working correctly. We can do the same thing in a Chrome console as we're doing in Run.js. All right, now the item says that we should be adding it to the favorite books array, not just printing it out, but adding it to the favorite books array. And here this third hint tells us how to put something into array. We give the array name and then we say .push, and we give it the value that we want to push in. So let's do that. Instead of console.log, let's actually just say favorite books dot push, and what we want to push in is the book name that's been passed to us. So book name. Now, after all five of those have been called, then the favorite books array should have only the three in it that don't have the great keyword. So we could quickly check whether that was true by just printing out the contents of favorite books. After we've made these five calls, favorite books should have all three of them contained in it. Let's try that. I'll copy that code, come back over here to Run.js, and when I run this code, we should see it print an array with those three strings in it. And sure enough, now we see an array with those three strings having been included. Here's another example of function expressions. We call these IFFEs. IIFE, which stands for Immediately Invoked Function Expression. You undoubtedly will have seen at least some of these in some code at some point. And because it's an extremely common pattern, what we see here is a function called another teacher. You'll notice that on line 3 to line 6, there's a wrapping set of parentheses around that function. That's what makes it a function expression instead of the other form of function, which we call a declaration. Here it's a value, and then specifically on line 6 is where it's getting executed. That's the immediately invoked part. It's being executed immediately after we describe that function expression as a value. It immediately invokes it. That's what makes it an IFFE. And the main end result of an IFFE, the main end result of running a function, is that we get a new block of scope there. There's a block of scope inside of that function, another teacher. So when I say var teacher equals Susie on line 4, I'm making a teacher variable inside of that function. I'm not overriding the one from line 1. That allows us to encapsulate some of our behaviors and things so that they don't pollute other parts of the program. We wouldn't want for line 8 to print Susie. We want for line 8 to print Kyle. And the way that we protect that assignment on line 4 from changing it is that we wrap a function around it. That's at least one of the ways to do so. So IFFEs are a very common pattern. They've been sort of idiomatically around for more than a decade. You see linked here in the slides a blog post back to 2010 from where this idea of IFFEs, immediately invoked function expressions, was kind of described. And they are typically used in places in our code where we need to collect a set of variables and protect them from encroaching upon an outer scope.